Yeah, buddy.
Well, all right. Well, yeah, I guess we just crack right into it then.
I guess so. Yeah, guess
Well,
so.
uh,
Yeah.
you all
My
right?
Friday afternoon energy is different than my
Wednesday
Wednesday
night.
evening
That's
energy.
fair.
Yeah.
I'm with you too. It's it's tough.
I took a lease out on your heart. I took a lease out on your heart. Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun?
Welcome back, everybody. We are Rough Draft Research. You are the audience, and together we're on a quest for Dynasty Domination. How's it going over there, Daniel?
Doing great, man. Just living, loving, getting
Good.
ready. Don't want to, bring up any sore spots, but I got a few playoff matchups this weekend and getting ready for that. I started Bo Nix and he didn't do me dirty, so good start to the weekend.
That's good. Yeah,
Yeah, how are you, man?
I'm good. I went I had five playoff teams playing this weekend ish, and they all lost. So that's cool. I have one left. It was a bye week team, so that's nice. In the league that I it's my family league, so not
Yeah.
for any money or anything, but it's a good one. It's an important one. I'm excited about it. But yeah, so I'm doing okay, I guess. There's always next year, and now I'm getting prepared for the draft, which coincidentally, that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. So today we have the college football playoffs starting in a few hours, may have actually even already started uh, as of time
Oh,
of recording.
oh yeah.
So today we figured we would do a little bowl game preview, talk about some guys you might want to be watching over the next few weeks. Keep them in mind for future rookie drafts. And then we're going to talk about some of the award winners, only the ones that are playing this weekend, keeping it bowl game and college football playoff centric. So yeah, pretty excited to dive into this. So honestly, we can just kind of go for it. And the first matchup we're going to talk about, we're going to try to highlight one player from each team. And it's going to be the Tennessee and Ohio State matchup. So who do you got for Tennessee there?
All right. So for Tennessee, I'm a big fan of Dylan Sampson,
Mm-hmm.
the running back. He's doing pretty good. He's got 22 touchdowns this year, and he's got just under 1,500 rushing yards. Couple of catches in there, enough to be okay. But I don't know. I like him. I've watched him play quite a bit, and I like his goal line versatility. He's 5'11", right at 200 pounds, but he's a pretty squirrely guy. I know that we liked a Tennessee running back last year, in
Yeah.
Jalen Wright, and so I'm kind of always keeping an eye on that. I'm a lingerer. It's like I always watched out for the Wisconsin running
Mm.
backs after Jonathan Taylor came through, and it's stuff like that. I like the familiar territory, and the fact that he had 600 yards while playing with Wright and seven scores last year meant that he was good enough to compete with that high quality that we were enjoying. So I'm keeping an eye on him. It should be an interesting game with Ohio State. That's the 21st at 8 p.m. So I'll be
Mm.
definitely tuned into that. Do you have a different volunteer?
I don't actually. So we just for the audience sake, we did not talk about who we were going to do. A little surprise for each of us. But yeah, I also went with Dylan Sampson here. I'm kind of with you all the way around. I think he's a really good player. I'm just really diving into my tape watching, but he's been really fun. I think he's got really good vision, really good first move, which he was fourth in gap attempts according to PFF, and he just was really electric on those running up the middle. So that was nice to see. He is the sixth RB on PFF's big board,
Oh, nice.
which kind of has him high, pretty high up there in a deeper RB class. And he had 70 forced missed tackles, which was 11th for the nation. So that he's kind of speaking to what you're talking about, a little squirrely, uh, has some elusivity to his game, and I really have been enjoying what I've seen so far.
Heck yeah. Well, they're gonna have a pretty tough matchup with the
Hmm.
Buckeyes.
Yeah.
How it goes. Um, and I don't know. I stared at the Buckeye roster pretty pretty hard, trying to get a little creative, but I had to go wide receiver, man. Did you
Mm,
also go wide
I
receiver?
did.
Okay, well, I'll let you lead off then.
Yeah, so I'm kind of with you. I was looking at their roster, and he to me is the most Emike Ibuka is the most interesting guy, at least in my opinion. The wide receiver class of this year is pretty good. I think it's going to be a pretty good fantasy class all around.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of consensus, I think, of who these top receivers are. Um, and Ibuka has had 3 straight years with a receiving grade over 70, but it's actually been down since 2022. Like that was his best season, over 1,000 yards that season. 743 this year and 9 touchdowns, so still good. He's versatile. They can kind of use him all over the field, use him in the screen game, use him in the slot, use him outside. He's PFF's third ranked receiver right now and 14th overall player. So they're expecting big things out of him. So it'll be really interesting to see like if this not down year necessarily, but like not crazy final year, hurts him at all. I'm really intrigued to see the combine. He's listed at 6'1", 205 and looks pretty fast. So I'm really interested to see how he measures out and where he ends up going. But this weekend or sorry, I guess yeah, this weekend and further on in the playoffs, I think he could really make a name for himself and kind of up that draft stock.
Yeah, that's one thing that you see. I remember like the Jameson Williams bowl game, like late
Mm,
season push. Like some of these guys do just finish strong and keep some staying power into the offseason, the draft process. And he definitely has an opportunity to do that for sure. Like you're saying, his best year is come and gone. It's not the current year, and I always have some hesitation with that, but
hmm
I know I personally wasn't sure about Jackson Smith and Jigba coming out of Ohio State as well. When he had a soft last year, injuries and whatnot, the questions were, yeah, without Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave on the field, it wasn't the same. But here we are, in his sophomore year in the NFL, he's doing big things. So
hmm
I think you got to trust the name, trust the pedigree. It's an Ohio State wide receiver with the first round grade. He's going to get drafted in the first round, and I'm with you. I think that we don't know exactly what we're getting here, but it's probably going to be pretty stellar. So I'm
Yeah,
into it.
yeah, I like him a lot so far.
We'll see.
So our next matchup we got coming up, we're gonna go Clemson at Texas, or maybe not at, but Clemson versus Texas. So, who you got for the Clemson Tigers? That's right, Tigers, right?
They're Tigers.
Okay,
Yep. I'm going with TJ Parker.
okay.
He is a defensive end
Hmm.
um, out of out of Clemson, and he's having a pretty good year. He's got 11 sacks and 6 forced fumbles. So the thing is, with the defensive guys, we're doing IDP this year, or well,
Mm-hmm.
a couple of years now, and I haven't really tuned in too much to the college defenders in the past several years, just mostly focusing on traditional fantasy football. So I'm trying to keep an eye out on these defensive guys and get in there. I feel like there's a lot of opportunity in IDP to grab the sleepers,
Mm-hmm.
because you get to a point where it's like consensus, which isn't always that informed.
Mm-hmm.
So I like it. I'm keeping an eye on him. Just high sack numbers, big fumble numbers, kind of a badass dude. 6'3", 265. But yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna definitely be looking out for number three in that game.
Yeah. Yeah. So I forget if I mentioned it at the top. We are also talking defensive players here, if that's who we wanted to keep our eye on the most during these bowl games. And it's interesting because for Clemson, I also went with a defensive player, but not the same guy. I actually went
Right.
with Barrett Carter, linebacker. He's on PFF's big board at 108, the fifth overall linebacker. Seems like it's going to be a pretty deep linebacker class as well.
Yeah.
A lot of them within the top like 115. And yeah, man, I mean, like you're talking about, grabbing these steals on the defense and grabbing guys that are highly productive in college. He had 76 tackles, combined this year,
Wow.
11 tackles for loss and 3.5 sacks, and 7 passes defended as well. So he's pretty versatile, can use him all over the field. He's more in that smaller, faster breed of linebackers that seems to be taking some of the teams in the NFL by storm. Listed at 230 pounds. Super, super quick. Really great instincts on run defense. In fact, he had a 84 run defense grade. With only a 50 coverage grade. So he does need to work on some stuff, at least in the coverage game. But I mean, that's not where you get your points from linebackers in IDP anyway. It's from tackles and tackles for losses. And I mean, just throwing the tape on for him a little bit. You just saw him react so fast to any kind of running play coming at him, and that's what I like to see. So I'm really intrigued to see where Barrett Carter ends up going and how he does in the playoffs.
Heck yeah, dude. I'll keep an eye out on him as well. Just so happens, I guess, Texas, I mean, that's who they're playing. And we're looking at award winners. And we've got the Jim Thorpe Award for
Mm,
best defensive back
mm,
going to uh Jahdae Barron,
hmm.
so out of Texas. So that's probably going to be the guy I'm keeping my eye on coming up in this game. Let's see what we think about him. I assume you've got the same name.
Well, I have a different person for who to keep my eye on because I separated out the award winners because I knew we were gonna
Ooh,
discuss award winners as well.
okay.
So I do have Barron in my list of guys. I mean, he looked great this year, 5 picks, nine
Yep.
passes defended. But he is not who I picked for Texas.
Okay. Well, yeah, he's 5'11", 200 pounds. So, and he's an Austin, Texas guy. So I don't know. Hometown dude kicking ass. And you got to keep an eye on your Jim Thorpe Award winners. But like you said, he's got 5 picks and quite a bit of tackles there.
Hmm.
Lockdown guy. We'll see how he does in the draft. Who'd you pick up out of Texas?
Oh, one note on Barron. Like,
Yeah.
it was interesting. He's listed as a corner some places and listed as
Right.
a safety other places.
Mhm.
So I'll be really intrigued to see like who drafts him and where they want to play him. Obviously in IDP, I think corners are a little less valuable, well, a lot less valuable than safeties. And so if he ends up as a true corner for a team, I'll be a lot less interested. But if they throw him in, like you said, he had 47 tackles, and 2 for losses and 1 sack. So they were using him like that. Texas was, but I'll be really intrigued to see where he goes in terms of that. But I actually went with Isaiah Bond,
Okay.
small little receiver, 180 pounds, 5'11", 532 yards, 5 touchdowns. He's PFF's ninth overall receiver, 66th player. Was a transfer from Alabama this year to Texas. Ended up with 16 yards per reception, which is pretty good. He's definitely smaller, but he's a smooth route runner, man. And he's got really good hands. He only had 1 drop this season. There's the smaller wide receivers are kind of making a name for themselves in the NFL these days. I just think the rules help them out a lot with being able to protect themselves and protect their bodies and stuff. So I'm less scared of smaller receivers. I mean, you look at like your Zay Flowers, for example. He kind of fits into that vein of a guy that can get open and create after the catch. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see if he kind of ups his draft stock in this playoffs as well.
Yeah, I think he's a player you got to be excited for. Yeah, some of the production numbers aren't out of this world, but
Yeah.
he's holding his own in the draft class. So But
The
I don't
combine
know.
could do a lot for him for sure.
Oh yeah. And I mean everyone there it feels like people are getting riskier or whatever with drafting wide
Hmm.
receivers, you know what I mean? They're not looking at it as lost draft capital if it doesn't work out. I guess they're willing to take more risk and that position just keeps getting kind of slid higher and higher up the draft board, but a smaller guy. So we'll see. We'll see if the small guys can make a name for themselves.
Yeah,
I
for
don't know.
sure.
That's I think that that Baron is a little small to be a corner in the pros, so we'll see if he's got the range for that. Might
Yeah,
slide him in the safety position,
could be interesting
which
for
could
sure.
be
Yeah,
beneficial
would be
for
better.
IDP. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Uh, Not for him getting paydays, but it would be better for
Right.
IDP probably.
Sure.
All right, moving on to the Indiana matchup. We've got IU taking on Notre Dame. Who you got for IU?
Okay. Well, for IU, this was a tricky one for me because their offense is just like not really, they're
Yeah.
putting up big scores, but it's like it's extremely diverse. Like they've got like three or four different leading rushers per game, and
Hmm.
same with the receivers. It's even more. So they just spread the ball around so much that I couldn't really lock down an individual offensive player that I was happy about in the skill positions. So I saw that they've only allowed three opponents to score over 20 points so far this season. And I thought that was pretty intriguing. Wanted to check out that defense, and I went with Aiden Fisher, who
Okay.
leads the team in tackles with 108. So linebacker. I don't know, he's good size. He's a junior, 6'1", 233, and only has 1.5 sacks, but he did have 108 tackles in 2023 as well. So that's 2 years in a row, over 100 tackles. He's obviously getting the job done and looking pretty feisty. And like I said, like a lot of these guys, I'm in this process, I'm just looking to find on the screen when I'm
Mm.
watching these bowl games to see how I really feel about him. And I think he's probably going to be pretty heavily involved in the defensive game. So definitely looking forward to checking him out.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you on IU and their offense being a little not lackluster, but in terms of one person to look at. There's not a lot going on there. So I also went defense. I went with Macaulay Kamara. He is listed as a linebacker. I think he'll probably end up as an edge. I mean, that's kind of more where they used him anyway, but they just have him listed at linebacker. 265 pounds. He's a redshirt junior. Just a massive man with some speed to get around the outside. He had 10 sacks this season and 15 tackles for losses, in addition to 44 tackles. Just an absolute disruptor with an 89 defensive grade and tied for sixth in the nation for sacks. At least in this draft class, I think is how I did it. So and fourth in hurries. So just really, really getting to the quarterback, which as we've talked about on this podcast, at least IDP leagues that are set up for the edge position. I think he's a really interesting name to keep an eye on and see if IU can kind of push into the playoffs and disrupt Notre Dame this week.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I don't know. Their coach got some awards. It's kind
Hmm.
of been like an interesting year for them. They had a big loss there at Ohio State, but other than that, it's a pretty impeccable season. So
Yeah, which
it'll
doesn't
be
happen a lot in Bloomington.
no. So I mean, I'm very excited about the new college playoff format. So I
Hmm.
guess that's what got us here to this conversation. But I don't know. As far as Notre Dame, I was really excited. I'm excited about their running back,
Mm.
but he's only a sophomore, so I couldn't get too deep into him. But
Hmm.
Jeremiah Love, he's pretty awesome. I've caught a few of the Fighting Irish games and enjoy watching him, so I will be watching him. But as far as like 2025 draft, I'm going defense again
Mm.
with Xavier Watts.
Oh, me too.
Nice. Okay. Well, hell yeah. He's a safety.
Hmm.
He's got some pretty good numbers so far this year. 5 picks. He had 7 in the previous year. a couple forced fumbles, and just right around 50 tackles the past 2 years. So he's got pretty good size, 6 foot, over 200 foot there, or 200 pounds, 200 feet. But I don't know. I'm going to keep an eye on him. What do you got to say about him?
Yeah, he's a really interesting name. Obviously, you mentioned the 5 picks, I think, and 9 passes defended. He was the 2023 Nagruski Award winner, which is, as you mentioned, he had 7 picks last year, so that's good. I'm worried about him in terms of safety, in the NFL because where they really build their points in IDP is tackles, and he had 49, which is pretty good, but he had an
Mm,
88 or basically 89 coverage grade, but a 17 and a half missed tackle rate. So I wouldn't call him the most consistent tackler in the class. But I mean, just coverage wise, he's incredible, and he's one of the top safeties in the class for that very reason. But in terms of his IDP, like obviously you throw him in there, and that would be pretty the NFL team is going to really like having a coverage guy back there, but it
mhm.
reminds me of somebody like a Ha Clinton Dix from a few years ago out of Alabama, where he made plays, big plays in the passing game, but was a liability kind of in the rushing game, which ultimately got him kind of shipped out after a few years, and that kind of IDP points is a little less consistent and a little more fluky, which is what I'm worried about. But if he can develop that and become a consistent tackler, I think he could be really, really solid in IDP. I think he could be a great safety in the NFL. But just in terms of IDP value, I'm a little worried. But yeah, he to me is the most interesting player on that defense.
Heck yeah. I don't know how this game is going to go. This is kind of a I don't know, man. This one is the Friday night game,
Hmm.
so it's going to be pretty riveting. I'm gonna have to definitely jump in there,
Yeah,
see how
yeah,
it
it should be
goes.
fun.
Heck yeah, I'm excited. I can't say enough about the new
Yeah,
playoff format, man.
it's
It's got
really
me
cool.
locked in. It's hard to
Absolutely.
miss them.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Um, Final matchup of the opening round, we've got SMU going up against Penn State. What are we thinking here?
Yeah, went defense again
Okay.
with SMU. That one, like the offensive side of the ball, it's really tricky. It's kind of young and it's kind of run happy. They don't have a lot of wide receiver standouts or anything like that, unless you're about to tell me about one, because then that would be. But anyway, I'm going with the edge rusher. His name is Jafari Harvey.
Hmm,
So I don't know if you're into that, if you already have him. I don't know. But
I'm not.
he's a senior, 6'4", 250. And this past year, he's got 7 sacks, only 28 total tackles, but he's got 2 forced fumbles. So that kind of made me pretty intrigued by him. It just seems like he's disrupting pretty heavily, which is what you want to see off the edge. So I'm just going to be keeping an eye out for number 6 in that SMU game. What do you got over there?
Yeah, I think he's a good shout, but I actually did go offense. And it was somebody who PFF doesn't even have him on their big board as of now. I think that could end up changing. And I do think he's on NFL radars, for what it's worth. It's Brashard Smith, running back for
Sure.
SMU, has 1,200 yards, 14 touchdowns, 300 yards through the air, another four. He was a transfer from Miami. He had an 88 rushing grade this year from PFF, and 48 missed tackles forced, which is pretty good. I think he's just a dual threat RB. He's shifty. And I just really kind of liked him on what little film I've watched so far. And to me, that's a decent amount of production. I mean, he is a senior. He's a bit smaller, listed at 194. But I don't think people are shying away from that necessarily these days. And I kind of I'm interested to see where he ends up in this draft process.
Yeah, definitely a day 3 guy, but being a senior, he's not going back to school, so we got to get him out there. We'll see. I looked at him and I thought, hey, this guy I think is under Christian's 200-pound limit, so got to be a little weary when I go throwing names out there with that kind of qualifications. So
Hey man. I'm adapting.
All right, man. I like to see you give a guy a second chance, but I'm doing it. I'm sticking with the award winner on the Penn State side of the ball,
Mm,
right? We've got our resident John Mackey award winner,
makes sense.
which we're into the John Mackey award winners these days, I think. I mean, Brock Bowers, big name. Obviously, you've had Trey McBride,
Mm,
John Mackey award winner. So I don't know, man. I think that we can trust these guys. So Tyler Warren, the tight end for Penn State, is coming off of a epic year, really. 1,000 yards in college for a tight end is very rare. 6 touchdowns, and he's pretty feisty. He kind of, came out of a 2023 season that was high scoring, but not high in the yardage. He's kind of fixed that problem, but his average is maintained consistently around 12 yards per catch throughout the college career. So you got to be into that. And this year he added 4 rushing touchdowns as well. So that's 10 total touchdowns for a tight end with about 1,200 all-purpose yards. Like, I'll take that every day.
hmm
I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye out for that.
Yeah, he did it on 88 catches too, which is pretty impressive. That's more than some of the receivers we've been talking about
Yeah.
up to this point. So, I mean, yeah, just highly productive, and that's what you want. That tight end position, as we've seen with Brock Bowers coming into the NFL and just immediately being effective, can really help you out in fantasy. And so, yeah, Tyler Warren needs to be on everybody's radar.
Mhm.
I absolutely agree with you. I did go with Nicholas Singleton, the running back
Oh,
for
sure.
Penn State. He's listed at 226, so he's a bigger guy.
Ooh.
He lost about 40 attempts this year, but his yards and efficiency increased. He was sitting at like 6.4 yards per carry, 838 yards on 131 attempts. He's also like extremely, in my opinion, he's a really, really good dual threat guy. 335 yards on through the air on 37 catches and 5 touchdowns. I just think he has really good hands on tape. And he is a strong runner that has at least the speed to get it to the house sometimes. And I was surprised to see him on PFF's big board at 237 and the 26th ranked RB. I'm not really
Whoa.
sure what I'm seeing that they're not seeing. And I'm going to be intrigued at how the combine and the draft goes for him. But I also want to, I really hope that he just like comes out and has a great playoffs and kind of ups his draft stock. Cause I don't know, when I watch him, I don't see the 237th best player in college right now.
Uh,
Like, maybe not the 10th best player or anything like that, but I do think he's better than what he's getting credit for right now.
well, if it makes you feel any better, Tankathon's got him as the running back 7 in the class at 82 overall.
See, that makes a lot more sense to me. Like maybe top 10 or even in the top 15 for the running backs. Because I mean, he did have maybe not as groundbreaking of a year as you want, but yeah, PFF has some kind of vendetta against him, ranking him the 26th RB.
They're just trying to downplay it so they can draft him. Been there.
Maybe. All right, so those are your matchups for opening weekend. But there are 4 teams on bye that we also want to highlight real quick. We're gonna get into, I think we start with Oregon, yeah, the number one ranked team in the nation this year. Who do you
Sure.
got?
I've got Derek Harmon,
Okay.
defensive lineman. He's got so far this year, he's got 2 forced fumbles, 5 sacks, and 52 tackles. He's 6'5", 310,
Woof.
and he's getting the first round grade here. So I think he's the fourth D lineman in the class. And basically, I mean, he's just kind of been kicking ass and taking names. So when it comes to looking for a guy on the field, that's where I'm headed, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what these defensive guys, it's like they make their presence known, so you just kind of got to keep your eye out for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's a super interesting one to watch. I went offensive
Okay.
with Oregon. I went with Tez Johnson.
Yeah.
You want to talk about small, guy listed at 5'10", 160 pounds.
Mm.
Um, that's not really your typical NFL profile, but he is PFF's 11th ranked wide receiver right now, and overall of 78. So he's still in the top 100 there. 866 yards and 10 touchdowns this season. He's been an over 80 receiving grade for PFF for 3 straight seasons. And he's got 10 touchdowns in back-to-back seasons. Obviously, he's seriously small, and that could hurt his stock. But he's incredibly elusive and fast, and I think he has great stop ability. I mean, you turn on his highlights, and it's just him constantly making two or three guys miss almost every time he touches the ball. So I'm intrigued. Obviously, that size is going to work against him. I mean, he's skinnier than Devonta Smith if that 160 pounds ends up being accurate, but he's definitely a playmaker, so I'm intrigued.
Heck yeah, man. I'll have to throw him on the radar. I definitely saw him there, but under 1,000 yards, I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So we'll have to definitely keep an eye out for him. So let's see what school we got next, my friend.
Let's hit Georgia as the
Okay.
number 2 ranked team in the nation.
Okay. Well, Georgia has on their team the Dick Butkus award-winning best
Hmm.
linebacker with Jalen Walker. So
Hmm.
I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye out. See, like when these awards come out, it's kind of the first time hearing about a lot of these guys, especially the defenders, because I'm not as into the college game as I used to be before, before the little ones came popping out. So he's definitely going to be the guy that I'm paying attention to this weekend, or well, I guess not this weekend after the buys roll through and he gets his chance to get in there. Um, but yeah, this year as a linebacker, they have 6.5 sacks and a couple of fumble recoveries. It's only got 58 um, tackles, so obviously he's doing a little more of a pass rushing linebacker role, the edge role, than a traditional linebacker. So he's got good pass rush and good sack numbers. Uh, so I'm pretty excited about him. Good size, 6'2", 245. It's kind of like that primo athletic build, just a
Hmm.
fast but still powerful, be coming off the edge. So we'll see how he ends up doing. Let's see. Who do you have?
Well, yeah, just on Jalen Walker, he also added 11 tackles for loss. So
Yep.
he's just extremely versatile, kind of what you're saying. They used him all over. So those lower tackle numbers for a linebacker, like he may end up just playing edge for somebody in the NFL.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you. He's incredible. I also went defense. I mean, Georgia is pretty much all about defense. And I went with Mikel Williams, who is
Okay.
listed as an edge,
Sure.
6'5", 265. Stronger in run defense than pass, but I also think that might speak to just how good Georgia's defensive line was and how many pass rushers they have, including Jalen Walker, like you just talked about.
Hmm.
But he has the tools to be effective both places. He's got big, long arms. He's powerful, but he's also quick. He did have 9 tackles for loss and 5 sacks, so it's not like he was not productive. I just think there wasn't enough production to go around for the Georgia line.
Yeah,
He's
it's rotating.
yeah, just constantly, which I mean, hey, it's an effective way to run that team. PFF's 21st ranked player and third overall edge player. So I'm really intrigued to see how he does and how he does in the combine and throughout the playoffs for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be fun just watching that front for Georgia. I like that Williams has two forced fumbles with no fumble recoveries, and
Hmm.
Walker has two fumble recoveries with zero forced fumbles.
Uh-oh.
So I don't know, if they're if they're working together on this or not, but it's going to be pretty exciting, man. Well, yeah, I won't say it again, but it's going to be cool to watch this whole thing play out with the multiple up to, I guess, up to three postseason college games for some
Yeah,
of these teams.
could be crazy.
Be wild.
I'm
So
excited. So let's go on to number 3, Boise State. I is there anyone else to talk about than
no,
Ashton Genty?
no,
I
no.
mean, the kid rushes the ball 344 times, still gets 7 yards a clip. 29 touchdowns, adds one through the air, so 30 overall touchdowns, almost 2,500 yards. He's the Doak Walker Award winner. I mean, he's probably going to go number one overall in most dynasty rookie drafts, I would imagine. Maybe not super flex drafts, but yeah, I don't know what else there really is to say about him.
No, I mean, yeah, if you're just hearing about him now, that's good luck, you know. Like you good because you're gonna need the luck if yeah, I don't know, man. Honestly, I don't know who you take over him in a super flex world, you know what I mean?
hmm
We kind of been through this a few times recently where, you know, even in a super flex, you take the running back, you know. We saw it with the Bijan, a lot of
hmm
people said it with the Marvin Harrison. I personally took Gibbs over Stroud in a super flex rookie draft, and I don't regret it. So I, th- I think that just out of fear, like when's the last time we saw a running back that really just did what Genty just did? Like, it's been a long time since we've seen
Yeah.
anyone light the world on fire and just an unstoppable single, one man team type situation. And I do feel bad for him about the Heisman
Yeah.
because any other year, I feel like any other year, it would have gone to him. But you've got the You've got the Travis Hunter thing, which obviously the Buffaloes did not make it into the postseason, so we're not
hmm
talking about him. But I feel like, especially when it comes to IDP conversations, we're going to be looking at like a Taysom Hill-esque cheat code
hmm
when it comes to certain league formats. So excited, mostly excited for Ashton Genty. Also interested to see how Travis Hunter can transition to the NFL.
Yeah. No, I'm
But
100% with you on Hunter. He makes things intriguing for IDP leagues. Like if he's used both places, like that's a
yeah,
crazy cheat code on your defensive side of the ball. Potentially, you're basically starting a wide receiver there almost. I'll be intrigued to see if a team drafts him as a wide receiver or a corner. But yeah, I mean, Genty deserved it. Just, I mean, it just didn't fall right for him, and hopefully he'll be able to just take advantage of the NFL and just become a superstar there. That leaves us with one last team and one last award to get to in a second. But we're going with the fourth ranked team in the nation, Arizona State.
yes. The Sun Devils.
hmm
Yeah, my good friend and her boyfriend is a Sun Devil alumni,
Okay,
and he's very giddy to
I
see
bet.
the boys doing so well. So I don't know. When it comes to Arizona State, dude, you going Scattaboo? We doing this?
Yeah, we are.
So, oh my gosh, what do you say about this guy? I mean, so senior 5'11", 215. Ugh.
hmm
What do you want to, where do you want to start with him?
I mean, he's very well, first of all, he's of the guys we've talked about, he's probably the best dual threat um running back out of the group. I mean, he had 500 yards on through the air and three touchdowns, 19 on the ground with 1,500 yards tacked on. He had a 93 overall rushing grade, 6 yards per attempt. He had 91 forced missed tackles, which was third in the nation. He's just a compact, powerful runner, that 5'11 at 215, and he just has great balance. So far, watching him was some of my favorite tape. Somehow PFF has him as the 18th ranked running back. I think they need to update their big board coming after, or at least the running back portion of it, because I don't understand how he's the 18th best running back in this class.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you want to say about him, right? He's got 2,000 all-purpose yards, second to Ashton Genty, right?
hmm
And he's got 19 touchdowns on the ground, three in the air, 22 total. That's right up there with Jalen Sampson. So these guys are getting big pop. Obviously, I'm not comparing him directly to some of these guys. I think what we are seeing is what I would call this year's actually legit Dylan Labe type, where you're
Okay,
happy
yeah.
to see the usage and the versatility, but he did it not at New Hampshire University, but
Hmm.
in one of the more competitive college situations because the Big 12 was very feisty this year, and they kind of came in year one and set the standard. I mean, who knows what's going to happen in the future?
Hmm.
But they fought their way into a bye week. They overcame a lot of tough games down the stretch, and he was a huge part of it. Posting over 150 all-purpose yards in four out of the last five games. So he's in a big spot, high level ranked competition and doing it. So without a doubt, I think a lot of eyes are going to be on him through this playoff process.
Hmm.
And he does have, I mean, he has the potential if he can stand toe to toe with the big dogs and keep it going the way he's been. You got to get him. You got to get him in the top 10 running backs in this class.
Yeah, I would
It's
think
it's
so.
it's disgusting. They're just
Yeah.
leaving him way out of the conversation.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but maybe he can change that by putting on a big playoff performance. You're right. I mean, he's going to be in the final stretch of games automatically with Arizona State getting that bye week. So,
Yep.
a lot of eyes are going to be on him, and hopefully he can kind of take advantage of that. And then the combine coming up, he could really, really take off. So yeah, I'm excited about him as well. And then one last award winner that we didn't cover already that is going to be playing in the playoffs. We've got the top former walk-on, or the Bullsworth Award winner, which is linebacker Bryce. I'm probably going to butcher this, but Buchetter, I think, out of Oregon. He's a senior, 225 pounds, 87 tackles this year, eight tackles for loss with two sacks and four passes defended. He had a 90 overall defensive grade and also a 90 coverage grade, tackling that with the pretty high, not incredibly high, but decent 87 tackles numbers. That could be really, really good going forward for your linebacker. He also was not on PFF's big board, which seems crazy to me. I'm going to be intrigued to see him throughout the playoffs and throughout the combine as well. But I really think that he has a chance, and he's a Senior Bowl guy that we could probably be looking for as well to really, really kind of stake his claim to being an NFL
Ooh.
prospect.
Senior Bowl, dude. Now you're really getting us pumped, man. Let's just call it good on the NFL season and let's go straight to the draft season.
Let's
So
do it. I'm
I'm
here for it.
excited. Bouchetter, Boosh, Boo, Bo,
Bo
Bo,
Cheddar,
Bo Cheddar, Bo
something.
Chair,
It's
Bo Chair,
Boettcher. So however you want to pronounce that at home.
Bo
But
Share, Bo Share. I don't know. Number 28.
yeah.
Now that you've planted it, I'm going to be looking for him, man.
Well, that's
Darn.
good. But hopefully you took some names away for the college football playoffs. If you're like me and you don't really watch college football throughout the season and more catch up at it on the end of the year,
Who
these are
gives?
some names for you to follow. So don't know when our episode's going to be next week, with Christmas being in the middle of the week and
Ugh,
everything.
don't
So
remind me.
we will figure that out. With that said, Merry Christmas to you all. But until then, we've been Rough Draft Research. You've been the audience, and we'll see you next time.
Yes, and happy holidays.
Mm,
You know, got to remember there's holidays coming up.
I suppose
Take care,
so.
y'all.
I took a lease out on you.